In an age of visually impressive, realistic shooters, there's still room for those who want to enjoy classic-style shooters in the modern era, boomer shooters. These games not only evoke nostalgia, but also retain the charm of the classics. Alright, let's dive into the games. Mullet Madjack is an arcade shooter with roguelite elements and fast-paced action. You're constantly racing against the clock, where you must kill everything quickly or die. The game is challenging, but in a good way. The challenging gameplay is addictive rather than frustrating, and the kill effects are always satisfying. However, in my opinion, it doesn't quite feel like other boomer shooters. While it has the aesthetics and fast-paced gameplay, it lacks a certain distinct vibe. That being said, the game is still amazing and simply fun to play. Now we have an anime-style boomer shooter before GTA 6. Let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, you play as a waifu, and while the game may have a bit of fan service, it's much more than that. It's actually a pretty fun shooter with a dark, grim atmosphere, and for this type of game, it's surprisingly gory. The Citadel calls itself a love letter to classic shooters, and it shows in the gameplay and level design. But it goes a step further with some unique gun mechanics of its own. If you're a fan of both anime and shooters, give this game a try. Zortch came out of nowhere as a pleasant surprise. It may have been developed by a small indie studio, and the price is pretty cheap, but it turns out to be a great boomer shooter. It not only captures the classic vibe perfectly, but also feels like it was made in that era, with modern quality of life improvements. The game has a good sense of humor, and the gunplay, along with the overall gameplay, is plenty of fun. In short, if you're looking for a simple, short boomer shooter, and have some spare cash, definitely grab this one. HROT is an atmospheric boomer shooter set in 1980s socialist Czechoslovakia during the Soviet era. The game might remind you of Quake, one of the legends of old-school shooters, but beyond that, it stands as a solid, immersive experience. The game is ugly, but in a good way. The world feels lifeless, desolate, and haunting. However, the level design is dynamic and fun to explore. The gameplay can be challenging at times due to scarce ammo, but it adds to the tension. If you're a fan of Quake, this game might just be for you. Now we're talking about the first game on the list that combines both old school and modern elements, Medieval. This is an epic dark fantasy boomer shooter, though many of the weapons are actually melee or magic-based instead of guns. However, much like playing Doom, the game still makes you feel epic and badass. Its medieval fantasy theme is charming and perfectly captures the old-school vibe. The charm also extends to the level and enemy designs. Medieval doesn't overstay its welcome, delivering just the right amount of fun. Selaco, as a boomer shooter, takes a more modern approach to the genre. While it still carries an old-school vibe, it feels more like the early 2000s rather than the 80s or 90s. But the modern touch isn't just in the aesthetics. The overall design and gameplay feel more up-to-date as well. The gameplay is similar to the Fear series, with its fast-paced, close-quarters combat, and the AI is surprisingly smart, with enemies that move dynamically rather than just standing still. Overall, this is one FPS, boomer shooter or not, that delivers a simple yet fun shooting experience. Just from the title, you know what to expect with Turbo Overkill. It's all about fast-paced action, tons of shooting, and yes, even a chainsaw leg. Beyond the shooting, you're also given a lot of crazy tools for movement. This game is perfect for those seeking fast-paced, challenging combat, where in the later stages, even a few hits from enemies can be fatal. It's definitely one of the best boomer shooters out there, especially if you love high adrenaline action. Just a heads up, it's probably not the game to play before bed. Now we have Ashes, a total conversion mod for Doom 2. Despite being just a mod, this standalone experience is amazing and has surprised both me and many other classic shooter fans. As a free mod, it's even better than a lot of paid shooters out there. The level design is incredible, with huge maps packed with attention to detail. Surprisingly, the game also has its own scary horror moments, along with some roleplay elements. I think this is one of the best free games you can get on ModDB. Now we have another Doom-inspired game, Project Warlock. As you can see, it shares a lot of aesthetic and gameplay similarities with the original Doom, but it takes things further by adding light RPG elements and character management. While the core gameplay, shooting and exploration remain similar, Project Warlock adds its own unique combat system. After all, why fix what isn't broken, right? The game also has a sequel, though it falls a bit short compared to the first. But if you enjoy the original, why not give both a try? We've talked a lot about Doom earlier, but now we have a game that's more similar to Quake in terms of vibe. Wrath, Aeon of Ruin. It immerses you in a gothic world with its own unique enemies and weapon selection, and it definitely captures that classic charm. While the game has received some criticism, such as weapon balancing and ammo scarcity, it's still a fun experience. No, it's not groundbreaking, but I think it's definitely worth checking out. Now we have a boomer shooter with roguelike elements on the list, Nightmare Reaper. While the boomer shooter genre is already quite niche, the roguelike aspect is a nice addition, and it's executed very well in this game. The replayability is high, with a wide arsenal to choose from. Although there's a story, I honestly can't recall anything particularly memorable about it. What bothers me are the minigames, which feel grindy and out of place. Despite that, the game is a solid roguelike boomer shooter overall.
Keep calm. Just don't look down.
Forgive Me Father takes a more artistic and comical approach to the boomer shooter genre. What's unique is that the game adopts an H.P. Lovecraftian theme. You can choose between two characters, each offering a different playstyle. Overall, the game is fun, and the combat feels satisfying. The unique art style also gives it a fresh look. However, there are some drawbacks, like the character balance and a rushed final stage. Despite these issues, I still recommend the game, and the sequel is equally enjoyable. I remember Postal as an open-world FPS known for its distinctive humor and one-of-a-kind style. Postal 2 became a legend, while the sequels were disappointing for various reasons. It's surprising that the series has now evolved into a very good boomer shooter. The game retains its trademark quirkiness, or should I say weirdness, while offering solid shooting mechanics, well-designed levels, and a silly story with outdated humor. The brain damage in the title hints at what you're in for. It's highly recommended if you're looking for a less serious but fun game. The first time I played Cultic, I was blown away by how well it captures the essence of boomer shooters while seamlessly integrating modern elements. The atmosphere, sound design, and level design are all top-notch. They clearly put effort into both the gameplay and story as well. The gunplay feels satisfying, and the enemies are well balanced, not bullet sponges, and offer a lot of variety. Surprisingly, the plot, which I usually don't care much about, is engaging and keeps you hooked. It's definitely an easy recommendation for fans of boomer shooters. At first glance, Aeon Fury might seem like just another Duke Nukem game, but it's much more than that. In fact, it's one of the best implementations of a boomer shooter out there. How can I describe it? It feels fresh and original while still reminding us of the great classic shooters. The game isn't just about mindless shooting either. It has a surprising number of secrets and puzzles. While it may not be for everyone, it feels like a 90s release, in the best way possible. It's one of those games that can make you feel nostalgic right from the start.
Fire in the hole, assholes!
Prodeus might be the most modern-feeling nor classic game on this list. It's marketed as a reimagined classic shooter built on a modern engine, blending the best of both worlds. While it may not have a strong retro vibe, the game is actually quite impressive. The gameplay refines the classic shooter formula, with heavy inspiration from the original Doom. The guns feel powerful, and the maps are straightforward, avoiding unnecessary confusion. I think the game appeals to a wide audience, both fans of boomer shooters and even casual players who might not typically be interested. Out of all the games in the Warhammer franchise, I never expected them to make a boomer shooter, but Boltgun does exactly that, adopting a classic shooter theme as its main presentation. Surprisingly, the retro shooter vibe fits perfectly with the Warhammer universe. The gameplay is, of course, simple, brutal, and fast-paced. The only downside is that the boss battles can feel like bullet sponges, becoming somewhat repetitive and reskinned. All in all, this is one of the best Warhammer games, even if it's overshadowed by the more popular titles. Among the games on this list, Ultrakill is by far the fastest-paced, most adrenaline-pumping, dopamine-fueled boomer shooter mentioned. I won't compare it to Doom, Quake, or anything similar, but it draws heavy inspiration from Devil May Cry, and possibly Bulletstorm too. How so? The scoring system is reminiscent of Devil May Cry, while the freedom of movement and the creative ways to kill enemies feel similar to Bulletstorm. The game rewards flashiness and creativity, so, to put it simply, if you love super fast-paced shooters that keep you on edge, buy this game. Dusk is a must-play for fans of the boomer shooter genre, especially in the modern era. Why? While it incorporates elements we've seen in the previous games mentioned, like great atmosphere, gameplay, and level design, Dusk just does it better. If other games get 90% of it right, Dusk nails the remaining 5 or 10%. The gameplay is fast-paced, secrets are scattered everywhere, and everything hits the mark perfectly. Okay, I know that wasn't clear enough, but if you're going to play just one boomer shooter, make it this one. Spoiler alert for the video. Now we're diving into a more classic shooter because why not? Let's start with Hexen. This game is one of the classic shooters that not many people know about, as it's been overshadowed by others. The gameplay revolves around a class-based system, with a defining feature being its maze-like level design. It may feel more like an RPG at times, but the boomer shooter elements are still very prominent. While there are no official remasters, the game has plenty of mods to improve the graphics. So, give this underrated classic a try. When we hear about Unreal, the first thing that comes to mind is the Unreal Engine, which has had a massive journey and is now used in many AAA games with stunning graphics. However, the original game, Unreal, was released back in 1998. It may not stand up to the other games on this list in terms of gameplay, but it certainly holds that nostalgic feeling, and is, in my opinion, one of the legends. This is more of an honorable mention, but if you're curious, check out Unreal Gold. You can even use high-resolution mods. One of the things that makes Duke Nukem so iconic is the main character himself, with his funny one-liners. The gameplay is simple but fun, and adding such a memorable character adds depth to the overall experience. I bet most of you are already familiar with the game. If you want to enjoy it today, you can buy the remastered 20th Anniversary Edition, though it does have a few bugs. Alternatively, you could try the Duke version. Either way, this is one of those games that needs no introduction.
Damn, I'm looking good.
Blood Fresh Supply is the remaster of the original Blood from 1997, which came out during the golden age of boomer shooters, so it shares a lot of aesthetic similarities with other classics. The story puts you in the shoes of a gunslinger and member of the Cabal cult, but honestly, we're not here for the plot. What makes Blood stand out is how each gun feels unique and different, yet all of them are useful. Every weapon has an alternate mode, and you're going to need them all to take on the hordes. Heard of this game? If not, give it a try. Even now, it won't disappoint. Well, after mentioning it a lot, here it is, Quake. This game is already a legend in the boomer shooter genre with its fast movement, addictive and competitive multiplayer, and iconic strong enemies. Now remastered, it's easier for both nostalgic fans and new players to experience a taste of the legend. While Quake 2 offers fun gameplay, its campaign level design is just okay. Not bad, but nothing groundbreaking. What really made the game shine, especially in its time, was the multiplayer mode. What about you? Have you played it? I bet you saw this coming. Doom is already a legend, and even today, the newest iteration of the game is still a blast, with much better graphics. But let's take a moment to give a nod to the original, shall we? Among all the games on this list, I'm admittedly biased because this was my very first FPS as a kid. While the gameplay may not be anything special compared to others, it's just so fun and iconic. Now that it has been remastered, I've got to go relive my childhood once again. So, what do you think? Are you interested in trying boomer shooter games, or did I miss any? Let us know in the comments section, and I'll see you in the next video.